Did you do that with the pen or with the dust?
I'm just doing the charcoal right now. I wanted to get some really dark stuff on there because I keep kind of erasing out a lot of it. I've noticed this is so soft it erases really easily. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just finding where those dark facets are and trying to kind of push some material into that area. You notice I keep stepping away from the paper. That's me trying to keep it in perspective and kind of taking in the whole thing at once. We're on. I think you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm following the basic shape we had of the top part of the skull there, taking into account that this cheek is going to be lighter than this hollow where our cheek kind of sinks in at. And really darkening in some areas that I know are going to be the darkest points, and I'm exaggerating. It almost looks like the eyeballs are kind of lopsided now because there's an optical illusion I've created with the shadow. I know that where I outlined the eyeball is still basically where it was at. But by being extremely dark here and not as dark here, it's kind of playing around with it a little bit, making it look different. I'm going to add a little shadow over on this side too, but it's going to be a finer spot because there's a fold in the eye right there. Now that I've kind of deposited some of that stuff on there, I can come back in and begin to pull from those dark areas. So if you take where your harsher lines are, where you had that, and begin to kind of smooth that into that, yeah, it's beginning to blend it, and it's making kind of a mid-tone between these two boxes here. We're getting to the point where you've got to be careful not to erase out too much of your dark stuff now, at least for a while. And if you do pull a little bit too much off the paper, it is all right to pick the charcoal up and put some more back on there. Right here in the corner of the mouth, remember I had you do that dot earlier? Where the face kind of draws in right there, and it's going to be a little darker right there, so add a little extra coming out of the corner of that mouth. I'm just kind of darkening out most of this ear right now. Ears are kind of unique appendages off the human head. They have a lot of character to them because of all the folds and the light and the shadows in them. They're kind of like the eyes. You've probably heard of the saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul. There's a lot of detail in an eyeball, and there's a lot of detail in an ear. And I would dare say the ears, the eyes, and the nose are fairly definitive parts of the human face that really give us a lot of our character. When you're looking at somebody, that helps you recognize, oh, that's Bob, or that's whoever it is. You know, those particular features are going to be the ones that really kind of stand out to people quite a bit. I've just kind of darked that ear in, but later I will have to do a lot of work on that ear to add some lighting back into it. More lighting on this one because of where that comes from. He's starting to look like he's popping off the page a little bit more, if you notice. Beginning to look more like a three-dimensional shape. There's more light kind of wrapping around him and shadow wrapping around him. We could make him jump off the page even more a little bit. Right now I know our main focus has been on the main subject matter, which is the face, but if we pay a little bit of attention for a moment to the background, we can give this thing a little bit more pop coming off that page. If we come in next to this darkest area and we were to take our eraser or a paper towel and lift a little bit of material right along the outside edge of where that head terminates, that will make that dark shading that we did pop out a little bit more. It has almost a halo type effect. It looks like light is coming from behind the head a little bit, if you notice. And it helps me clean up any goofy lines that I had that I got a little out of proportion or something like that. I can kind of smooth those out, remove them with the eraser a little bit, and kind of gently lay that eraser on its side and kind of pull that material away from that head just a little bit. I don't want to completely erase my nice neutral background, but I can make it a shade or two lighter. Notice how it stopped erasing there just a second. My eraser got gooped up. I got charcoal dust built up on there. Yeah, that kind of built up on that eraser. Real simple way to get rid of that is just knead the eraser, just like the name implies. You can stretch it, rip it apart, stick it back together. See how much cleaner it is now? Some of it got on my hands, some of it's down in the eraser. See, after I manipulated that thing, how much cleaner that is now?
Oh, yeah.
It took all that dark black powder off there. It cleaned my eraser. On a hard eraser like a vinyl plastic eraser, a lot of time you'll see me with black marks all over my jeans because I'll have to clean them on my jeans because I'll have to erase on my jeans just a little bit to get the lead or the charcoal off the eraser. But with these, they're nice because you can just knead them like that and get that charcoal to get off there. So now that I've cleaned my eraser, kind of smashed it back in the shape I want, I can continue to kind of pull some of that charcoal back away from that a little bit more. We'll take out some of these circles. I think that microphone grabbed that again. I've got to step in front of you here a minute and look at them head on. Looking at them sideways kind of messes with you a little. Okay. We've made some progress on the dark side of the face, but we still got all those messy lines on the light side of the face, and they're kind of distracting, so we probably should do something about them. An area like right up in here, this face that I'm drawing seems to have fairly high cheekbones the way that I've drawn it, so we'll just go with it. If we take our eraser, we can draw with it as well, and we can actually come in here and erase out some of the material that we have, getting rid of some of those lines and also creating an exaggerated highlight on the cheek there. So on your drawing, if you think about where the light is going to be the brightest at, and kind of following that base line drawing that you started with, you can begin to kind of lift that material off of the paper that isn't supposed to be dark lines and leave the dark spots that are supposed to be there.
Jet. Sorry about that.
Good deal, not much came out at all.
If you notice here underneath the nose, this area right in here is kind of triangular shaped. If you look at most people, you look at man, his mustache kind of grows in a triangle. That area is going to pick up a little bit of light right there. And it kind of has a flat plane that comes over to this crest where the lips are at. So I'm going to take that material off pretty bright, and then I'll come back in and shade it back in where I need to later. Down here on the chin, we might have a little highlight that kind of wraps around where it sticks out the farthest. Take a little bit off of there. Since I've got all this dark stuff down in this hollow spot of the cheek on that side, and even though it's a lighter side of the face, I do want some shading. I'm going to take the paper towel and see how this reacts. It looks like it's going to be all right. I'm just going to smear out my lines and basically erase all those distracting lines that are in there, but it still leaves a little bit of charcoal on the paper. There might be a little bit of a distinct line here that I have to actually physically erase out later, but for now I'm not even going to worry about really taking it off of there. I'm just going to smudge it out a little bit. Come up here on the side of the head. Mine almost looks like a mask right now because I haven't done anything with the eyeballs. They look kind of hollow, almost like you could put it on your face and wear it like a mask. If you notice, I don't know if you all remember looking at your drawings, but how angular everything looked and how kind of chaotic with all the lines and stuff it had before. But at this point, with this blending stump, as you begin to do that, you'll notice it's starting to smooth out a lot. It's beginning to look a lot more like smooth shapes instead of hard angled line mess that we had before. If you think back to the very beginning of this just started with a circle, right? Now if you look at what you've done, it looks a lot different than just that simple circle. So you can see how it is an involved process, But if you keep with it and you don't lose, hope that it's going to turn into what you want it to, it does eventually get there. It just, you've got to kind of keep that end goal on the horizon there and not get, too discouraged worrying about the very beginning stages of this, because it is a process. Let's see here. I think I'm going to add a little more shading on mine here in the folds of the nose. I'm not trying to draw lines, remember, I'm actually going to shade this a little bit. Because that is a fairly recessed spot of the face. It looks kind of like a line, but I'm not going for making lines, I'm going for making gradients. A little more shading on that jaw there. It's not cheating to use your fingers either. You can use your fingers.
Everything I'm doing is coming up too dark.
Okay, let's look at it real quick. Okay. You've actually got a really nice dark face on there, so now that tortillion or like a paper towel or something, you can take and just basically where you've got the extreme dark meeting the extreme light, go ahead and begin to now grab that material and kind of blend it across there, and you'll start noticing that that dark harsh line you've got will begin to kind of disappear.
It's too light, right?
No, that's fine. We're going to push and pull a lot with this stuff, so even if it takes a little bit of too much material off in the very beginning parts of it, you can always put more back on. In fact, do you still have that tortillion deal, or that blending stump? Or did it go to the wayside? Here. See, like on that, if I turn it on its side, I can bring that across like that and get in there, and it'll kind of pull that. Yeah, see how that's making that middle grade right there now? It's kind of, it's blending across that harsh line there. I think I'm going to attack these eyeballs a little bit because they're freaking me out. We're going to start these eyes off with thinking of them as just their basic shape, just kind of a round object sitting in a socket. So I'm going to have a darker side over here and a lighter side on the other end, and I'm going to begin to kind of pull that material and block out. I've got lines and scratches and stuff all over these two hollow holes in his head right now that need to become eyes, so I'm going to use my blending stump and kind of get rid of some of that. I keep losing my materials. There we go. Take my eraser and I can make it into a point and come in here in the corners and the creases, and I can erase just little tiny spots if everyone can see that.
Okay, you got eyelashes and eyebrow, and I've got eyebrows and eyeballs.
Yeah, I would take some material and come in here around the deepest creased parts, like under the eyelids and even a little bit up in here. And I wouldn't be afraid to get it too dark. Go ahead and make a little bit of a mess out of it, and then pull that mess around with your blending stump and your paper towel, kind of like I just did with that left eye, where I made the whole thing a little too dark, and I took my eraser and began to pull in a little bit of highlight on it. If you guys have difficulty seeing what I'm actually talking about up here, you are more than welcome to kind of come up here and take a look at it closer if you need to. Mine's starting to look like a bug now because I've got these two giant bug eyes on it. I'm taking my finger and kind of lightening up some stuff by smearing it out a little bit on this eye that's on the lighter side too. Begin to reach that little bit of balance. Kind of funny because you hear how quiet it is in here other than me rambling. I remember being a kid and spending hours sitting inside doing this while the other kids were outside playing at recess. Some people like to listen to music and stuff when they're doing this. Sometimes it'll work for me and other times I'll find it as a distraction. Looking at mine, I'm going to take the eraser in and basically erase this right here a little bit because it's going to be farther back on the head where it's going to catch a lot of light in some spots, but I will have to put some more shading back in on it later because there will be some dark folds that really get some shadow. But just to get two extremes, kind of like on our boxes down here, you know, this one on the left is pretty dark. We're going to lighten up this one on the right quite a bit and try to get rid of some of these boxy lines that I've left around it. Try to begin to make it look more like an ear. I took too much material off. That's another thing too. With where we took some material off behind the head on this other side, we can add a little material on the outside background on this lighter side to begin to define the outside edge of that face where that light meets that dark.
Looks like it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in here and erase out a little bit more of the very far outside edge closest to the light source on this one. Define that a little better, and then I can add some more material in later because I think I'm getting too much material on mine. It's looking very dark now. That is something I forgot to cover too. In the beginning of when you first start doing this stuff and throughout, if you want to, I don't know if you know much about hand stretches, but you can kind of, it's good to stop every once in a while and, you know, step back and kind of look at your work and kind of see it from a distance and kind of just stretch things and kind of, I've been drawing for hours at times and my hand will just walk up so bad. It'll be all the way up to forearm, elbow, and everything. Especially when you're doing something for the first time or you haven't done it in a long time, if you get kind of tense, it can bite you.
Having breaker issues.
Breakers issues. We lost power.
She did.
You know what, come to think of it, it's about 25 after 2. Why don't we go ahead and take another little break? And, I mean, if you don't want to take one, you don't have to, but we might take a break and just kind of move around a little bit, get the blood flowing, maybe get a drink, use the restroom or something like that. Because we do want this to be fun, obviously. You know, we don't want to be locked up so bad that we're hurting and stuff. My back is kind of getting me a little bit too, so let's take a little break and get a little refreshment or something and then come back to this in a minute. Fill the battery on. This thing stays. It's dying again. Does anybody need any water or drink or anything like that, or?